Hey guys. All right, so like I said before, I'm going to assume that you already went here and you signed up for the free version of JIRA. You just get started. Then you just enter, or either you sign up with Google or you enter your email password. Obviously, it's a new password that you're setting up for JIRA. And so it's not, you enter your email address, then you create your password. So you have your password for JIRA. Then your first name, last name, agree and sign up. They'll send you an email to confirm your registration. Once you confirm your registration, you'll get to this page. Let me just show you a moment. This is basically where you'll end up. Once you go to your email and they send you that confirmation email after you signed up, which is pretty standard, of course, if you've used software products before, if you've used any website before. Generally, when you sign up, they, not always, but a lot of the times they send you a confirmation link and then you just click verify your account and then you're set to go. Give your JIRA a name, okay, so there, let's get started. Give your site a name, choose something familiar like your team or your company. Okay, so you just set this up. Again, we're using a free version. Doesn't really matter which name you use. You can use whatever. I'm just going to put here JIRA course. And then, okay, that name is taken. So I'm just going to say JIRA course unique. All right. It's free. So it's a little bit like, because this is a bit like, when you're creating a new email address or whatever, that because it's free, somebody else might have already taken it. Don't worry too much about that. This is just something you can just put in whatever name you want to put in. Just click continue. And then we'll continue with the process of setting this up. Again, this is a one-off thing. You don't have to do this every time you log into JIRA. This is now because we're just kind of like setting up our JIRA, our JIRA for the first time. So if you already had team members that you wanted to include, then you just enter the email address and then they will just join. Because I use my mauriciorubio.com email address, so it's kind of like my company, right? So it basically allows, I can allow anyone with a mauriciorubio.com email address join the JIRA. You can do the same if you're working for a company, blah@company.com. Then you can leave this tick if you want anyone from your company to be able to use your JIRA site. If you don't want to, if you want to keep it private and just by invite, then untick this box. Let's just untick it. So this is like fully private. I'm not going to add people right now because I'm just going to show you, I'll show you an example later with people, and I'm just going to show you real quickly the initial setup and what it looks like. But yes, you can invite people. Obviously, you can invite people later on if you don't want to do it at the beginning right now and you don't want to enter their email. You can do that later. So let's just click skip. And then help us set up your JIRA. So you can say here, I'm new to JIRA. My team is, let's say, new to Agile methodologies. We spend our time working on features, support, operations, fixing bugs. Let's just say features. Again, don't worry too much about this. This is just something JIRA uses to kind of customize your experience a little bit, reorganize things in a way that might be more useful to you, similar to like Google and other companies do. But it doesn't really affect too much if you choose one of the other options, and you can always change it later on if you wanted to, of course. Let's say features. We have a tight, flexible schedule. Let's say tight. Generally, when we're working on anything, it's tight. Or again, like I said before, you can skip that. You can skip this if you want to skip it, but let's just leave it like this. Next. All right. So choose a classic template. So they just basically set this up for you depending on what you want to use. And obviously they have a lot of other information as well. Doesn't have to be software, it can be business. You can change this: project management, task tracking, process control, content management, recruitment, document. But let's just assume that you're working on a project and an Agile project. And like they say here, they're recommending something for you, Scrum. So Scrum is generally how you manage your Agile projects. Not always, of course, there are a lot of other Agile methodologies, but the most popular and most widely used and the most known to most people is Scrum. So if you're working on an Agile project, just pick Scrum to set up your, your JIRA site, your JIRA page. Again, this is something you could change later on if you wanted to, so don't dwell too much on it. Just go Scrum. And in this course, I'm going to focus on as if you were using an Agile project, because I know for a fact that most people using JIRA are working on Agile projects. So I'm just going to go and make the assumption here that you are working on an Agile project and that you are using Scrum. Again, even if you were using another Agile methodology, I'd still recommend that you choose this template or this JIRA setup with Scrum. Doesn't mean you can't be using DSDM or, extreme programming or one of the other Agile methodologies if you wanted to with this Scrum setup. Again, it's just kind of like a template. It doesn't mean that you have to run the project with Scrum. It's just setting up the software for you in a way that is user-friendly and in a way that how most people using this type of Agile methodology would use it. So, just go with Scrum, select, create project, enter a project name. So let's just call this project example. Okay, the key, P, what is the key? If you click here on the I for information, the project key is used as a prefix of the project's E2 keys, e.g. test 100. Choose one that is scripting and easy to prototype. All right, let's just use project example key P. It means anything that is created in JIRA. And JIRA, by the way, talks about issues, and I'll explain a little bit about that later. But issues can be pretty much what you define them to be. So they can be actual issues, so actual problems, actual bugs, or they could actually be user stories or epics. And again, in this course, I'm going to make the assumption that you know the terminology about Agile. I'm not going to teach you about Agile in this course because this is a JIRA course and an Agile course. If you're in this course and you have zero knowledge about Agile, I definitely recommend that you go through my Agile course, the Agile Crash course, and or one of my other Agile courses so you get familiar with the terminology. But yeah, I'm going to make the assumption that if you're in this course, you already know about Agile and we're just learning about JIRA because this is a JIRA course, all right? So let's just go with this project example, automatically created the key PE. Don't worry again about too much about that. You could change this template, like I said before, if you wanted to, but let's just leave it with Scrum. I recommend that you leave it with Scrum. It's what they recommended, as you saw before in the part before we were where we're doing the setup here in JIRA. But if anyone asked me what I recommend, how you set up your JIRA, just use the Scrum one. Okay, that's the one I recommend. Just go to create. And it's just doing the setup. Just let's give it a little bit. All right, here we go, guys. Here we go. So this is what JIRA looks like. This is the JIRA. This is a free version of JIRA. Like I said before, you can add more people if you wanted to add more people. Here is the left-hand side menu and project example, software project. Okay, you could add more projects, so you could create more projects if you were working on multiple projects. So this is one of the really cool things about JIRA as well. You don't have to stick to a single project. You can have multiple projects. And as you can see here, we have the board to do. Go here to the board. You could create more boards. We're right now in the PE project example board, right? So project example board, to do, in progress, done. The backlog. So this is where you would see all of your backlog. Let's say you didn't have one, you can create one right now if you wanted to, right? So let's just say example user story. All right. And yes, it's a story, user story, task or bug. I'm going to just say it's a story. And it gives you these little 3 buttons here because you can actually obviously add more details to it, right? You could also change it into an epic, right? So if you don't remember, and again, like I said before, I'm not going to go into all the Agile terminology and all what Agile is in this course because it's a JIRA course, but just as a quick reminder, if you don't remember what an epic is. So an epic is basically a user story that you can't deliver over a single sprint. It means it's a very big user story. So when a user story is too big, bigger than something, so it's big, too big that it actually can't be done in a single sprint, we call it in Agile an epic. And that's why they have here in JIRA epic, the word epic. You could also create, of course, tasks. Remember that in Agile, user stories are generally requirements, but a lot of times we also interchangeably use tasks for user stories in Agile. So don't dwell too much on that either. I generally would recommend that you classify the things that you're working on in JIRA as user stories, or stories for short. They use the word story here to shorten user story to story. So it comes from the word in the two words in Agile, user story. So, and then epic, right? And here's an example user story, and you can add more things. You can attach things to the story itself. You can create another one if you wanted to, or create this one, update it, configure fields. So this allows you to customize this. You can click here on custom. So this is one of the other things why people love JIRA and why it's so powerful, and it's because it allows you to customize a lot of things. By default, they'll put things for you, so they'll make it easy for you. But again, if you wanted to customize it, you could customize it as well. Where is my field? So if you're trying to find something, and you can find they have this search functionality here, and it'll allow you to just start searching for something, let's say description, all right, and it'll come up. So like I said before, JIRA is quite robust, it's quite powerful. It was launched in 2002, so it's been around for a while, and they're always doing things to improve JIRA, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to click here, cancel. Okay, yes, I want to cancel this, right? Active sprints. So if you're running through your sprint, this is where your active sprint would appear. Then if you went to reports, this is one of the other reasons, by the way, and I'm just giving you a very quick overview of JIRA. This is kind of like a quick tour of JIRA. We'll get into the details later in the course. But here you can see there's a bunch of Agile reports that they have automatically created for you. And of course, this will actually make more sense to you when you have actual content, when you've actually gone through creating your user stories, your sprints, when you have added people to the project. But I just wanted to show you that this is included in even in the free version of JIRA. And this is something that a lot of the, I guess, Agile software or Agile project management software out there, they don't have a lot of this stuff by default. Like you actually have to create it in Excel, or you have to buy an add-on, or you have to buy extra functionality. This is one of the reasons why Agile is so popular and so widely used, because a lot of these reports are automatically done for you. So you don't have to use Excel, you don't have to use add-ons, or you don't have to pay for extra functionality. It's included right there in your JIRA. The burn down chart, typical of Agile projects, burn up, same but opposite, sprint report, velocity chart, cumulative flow diagram. There's a bunch of different things. And one of the really cool things that I also like about JIRA is that they give you a little bit of a summary here of what each report is. And then if you click on any of them, let's just click on the burn down chart. Obviously right now, nothing's going to come up because I don't have any data yet, because we're just setting this from scratch. But I just wanted to show you, obviously it's coming up with, there are no available sprints for this board. So they can't really show you any data. But if you actually added a project and you actually had your user stories and you actually had users, you could actually see reports here, and we'll get to that in the course. Don't worry, we will get to that. Like I said, this is just a very quick high level overview of JIRA for you. And like I said, you can collapse this as well. The menu here, expand it, and you can see back to project. Let's just go back to project. So you have, this is kind of like your standard typical, just gonna go to the P board. Just go to the project example board. This is kind of like your Agile Kanban board. Right, let's see, I went to here to just a report, but we could just go here to, it's still in the reports, just go back to project, active sprints. Right, so this is where we would, these are kind of like our Agile Kanban board, or our Kanban board, or Scrum board. There's different words that people use to describe these boards, but here in JIRA, they just call it a board, like you saw before, P board, and then the active sprint. The backlog, reports, releases, issues and filters, pages, components, add an item, project settings. All of this is, I think, pretty much self-explanatory, but of course you can explore all of this in detail if you wanted to. The releases is where you would have, let's create a version, a new version. So and this is, again, coming from software development. You've generally seen this, Windows 7, then Windows 10, right? Or you see software version 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. That's what in the IT world we talk about versions and then releases. So release would be release 1.1, release 1.2. So it's kind of like that versioning that we're referring to in software development and in IT. Issues and filters. So anytime you have your issues, so if you remember all issues, well, let's click here on create. Let's just create one real quickly. I think the other one, I didn't save it. That's why I didn't create it, but let's just create this test or example user story. Again, you can attach things. I'm just going to say it's a user story. There's a lot of other things you can add here. I didn't show you this before, but you can scroll down. Who reported this? Is this an issue? You can assign to, let's assign to Mauricio, whoever you want to assign, priority, high, low, lowest. You can also customize this, by the way. So JIRA allows you to customize a lot of things. For sprint, we haven't created a sprint yet, but if you created a sprint, you could add here which sprint. We're just creating the user story, right? So let's just do create. Okay. So project example 1. So if I did refresh here, it should come up here under all issues. Here you go. Here you go, guys. So it wasn't coming in because I hadn't refreshed the page. And remember, this is a cloud version. So when you do changes, you just need to refresh it. Or if you click on something and then click back again, it would have come up for you. So this is just a very quick example of what a user story would look like in JIRA. And you can attach things. You can create subtasks. You can link things. And let's just go back to project. We're here on issues and filters. So remember that when you create something in JIRA, like a user story, all of that, the generic terminology in JIRA is issue. And this just comes back from a bit of the history when we're talking about the history of JIRA. Initially, it started like a bug tracker. You know how in software development you have bugs, issues? So JIRA, when it started as a product, initially it was mainly for tracking bugs. But over time, it became an agile software development and agile project management tool. But some people still use it to track bugs, and that's why, or issues, and that's why you can still create, or by the default the terminology that they use, issues. But it doesn't mean that it necessarily is an issue. Of course, you can actually change it to a user story, a task, or an epic, like we saw before. And if you went to pages, so again, this is just if you wanted to add notes or product requirements or retrospective, you can do all of this directly in JIRA. Isn't that really cool? Like adding your retrospectives here directly in your project, directly in JIRA is, again, one of those reasons why people really like JIRA, because it has everything kind of like bundled together. Components. So components are subsections of a project used to group issues within a project into smaller parts. So I guess the best way to explain this component thing, think of it as categories or streams of work. So sometimes we might have things we're working on a project that relate to marketing, or they might relate to procurement, or they might relate to maintenance, whatever it is, those streams of work. You can use that by creating components in JIRA. So they're kind of like categories or streams of work. And I'll show you later in the course a real world example of how we're using this in one of our projects. Add item. So you can add a shortcut, a Bitbucket or GitHub repository. Pages is already there. So this is just adding like some extra things here if you wanted to in your JIRA. And then project settings. If you click here on project settings, this is a project that we created, before. You can change your avatar. That makes it easier for you to assign your user stories or your tasks to the project. Because again, remember that you could have multiple projects, so the avatar might just help you. This is useful when you have multiple projects and then you just want to recognize something with a picture instead of the name. That's why it would be helpful in that scenario. And again, here you can see your left-hand side menu. Let's go back. I'm just going to go back to project. So we were just in project settings. So again, we've gone here, and this is a very quick, high-level tour, really quick tour. And don't worry if you feel I'm going too fast over all of this. We'll actually get into real-world examples later in the course, so you can see this in action. But I just wanted to give you a very quick tour of the menu on the things, what they look like, what you see in JIRA when you go to JIRA. And again, here you can see that there's a lot of other stuff here on this second. So they have kind of like two left-hand side menus. So JIRA software, start and recent. So if you click here on start and recent, it'll show you recent things that you've done, right? Or that you've started. It's just like a quick navigation thing. Search, if you wanted to search for something, create. So the plus sign, again, if you want to create a user story, a task, a bug, or an epic, it's kind of like a quick, a quick button to do that. Notifications, again, everybody's used to seeing this little bell for notifications. So if somebody created a user story, or if somebody updated something, or they completed something, this is where you would get that notification. This is also something that is pretty good, by the way, in JIRA. When something does something or updates something, you automatically get not just the notifications in JIRA themselves, but you also get an automatic email sent to you. This is really helpful, of course, because you don't have to actually go to JIRA to see what's happening. You actually get that directly in your email. And in the modern world, a lot of people spend a lot of time in their email, and, they might not have time to go to, the JIRA site and actually look at where things are at. And they might just want to get a quick notification delivered to their email. So that's something that JIRA does automatically. And as you're experiencing using JIRA, you'll see that in your inbox. And switch to, so again, if you wanted to try Confluence or one of the other products from Atlassian, this is where you would go to. Help, so they have a help page, documentation, community, what's new about JIRA. All of these are information that we saw before on their website. It's also right here in JIRA when you actually log into it. Settings, so these are kind of like your JIRA settings, admin type of settings, systems, products, projects, issues, etc. You can manage all of these directly here from this part of the menu. Again, configure your issue types, workflow screens, custom fields, and more. So JIRA, like I said, it is very flexible. It gives you a lot of options. Again, you can see here, you can add another type of issue. So it doesn't have to be just these ones that we were seeing before. These are the standard ones that appear because this is what people use normally. You don't have to create anything else. I'm just showing you this to show you just how powerful JIRA is. And just so you know that you can actually customize things. You can actually rename this, the icons, the name here. You can translate it. You can do a lot of things as you see here. Add issue type would allow you to add another type of issue. So this is one of those really cool features and functionalities of JIRA as a product. It's that you can actually rename, customize things, add things, remove things, move things around, create workflows, create different types of issues, different types of convention names or things, how you are referring to things in the project. And that helps because, there's generally a lot of things where there's not one size fits all, right? Each project is unique. Each team is unique. They might have their own criteria, their own jargon, their own things. And this is really cool in JIRA, which means you can actually customize it. But in most projects, these standard names will still apply, especially, of course, if you're running an Agile project. And then your profile. So if I went here on, this is me, Mauricio Rubio, settings, profile. Let's just go to the profile so you guys can see what it looks like. I'm just going to collapse this here. So it just shows that I'm working on this user story, my job title, my organization department. Here's how you can contact me, my email address, ask@mauriciorubio.com. I can create a team. So it's kind of like, like in anything else, like your Twitter profile, Instagram profile, or whatever. Most software development tools have your own kind of like your page where you can add your avatar, etc. And we'll see a little bit more about this in the real world example. But like I said before, I just wanted to give you a bit of a taste for the different things in the menu. Remember, we have two menus here. One is collapsed. This one's here. And as you can see, the menu here also changes a bit depending if you're directly in the project. So here it's kind of like a more high level. Imagine a tree. This is like the high level menu. But if I went here on projects and actually went into the specific project example that we were seeing before, or if I click here below, wherever, it doesn't matter, you can click here, recent, or here below. You can start things as well. Let's just click here. This menu here will change, and now we'll show you the typical JIRA, Agile JIRA menu, with sprints, your backlog, reports, releases, issues, pages, etc. that we saw before. All right, guys, I hope you found this useful and it's giving you a bit of an intro and a bit of an overview of JIRA and how you can use JIRA and, just different menus available to JIRA, the different tabs, the different things that you can do in both menus, so the one here and the one here as well, and a bit of a flavor for what JIRA is and how you can use it. But don't worry too much. If you felt I went too fast through this, we'll actually go into a real world example that will clarify a lot of these things for you. And in any case, of course, you can always go back and rewatch this video if you feel that you want to rewatch it. Or you can also change the speed of the video. A lot of the tools nowadays allow you also to change the speed of videos, or you can pause and replay. And of course, I'm here if you have any questions, just let me know. Happy to answer any questions you might have, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Cheers. Bye.